Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another Wildlife Q&A. I have a question today from Erik, and he asks, how do I go about scouting and establishing locations? And then he also added, do I just wade in the water or use a kayak or a boat to get to some of these places? So I assume he's talking about a lot of the waterfowl that I've been photographing lately. This is a question that's kind of already been asked, and I've talked a little bit about it earlier, but I'll talk about a few different things this time as well. So the answer is I just spend a ton of time out in these places that I shoot and seeing what I can find. This morning is a perfect example. I came out here this morning to try to photograph a kingfisher, and it didn't even show. I didn't even hear it, even though I've seen it here a bunch of times. So today was kind of like a scouting mission, you know. I knew there was only a chance that it was going to land on this perch I had set up, and I knew that by driving around through this area a lot and seeing the kingfisher hanging out in this particular area and feeding in this particular area on many different occasions. So I knew it wasn't just a random one-off, which means it's probably kind of regularly feeding in that area. So that being the case, there were no good perches. So I came back when I had some time. I stuck a perch in the water. So I actually put waders on. I have chest waders that come up to here. And so even in the winter weather, which it is now in the Northeast here, even in the cold weather, I can just head out into the water, no problem, stay dry and stay warm. And so I set up a perch for this bird. And so today was the first time back to see if it was using it. And today I didn't even hear the bird. Every other time it's been in the area. So this is how it goes, you know? So I'll have to come back again and maybe again and maybe again. So it's just a lot of, honestly, it's just a lot of what feels like wasted time, but it's not really wasted time because I'm out in nature, you know. It's a beautiful morning right now. There's almost no place I'd rather be than out here in nature, just hearing the sounds of nature, the peaceful solitude and that sort of thing. I do use a kayak sometimes for some of the waterfowl locations that I've been scouting and some shorebird locations that I scout in the summer. Actually, I use a kayak to get to those locations. But generally speaking, there's not many circumstances where I'm on the water or in the water. I do a lot more, scouting on land and stuff like that. So it's driving around. Using eBird is huge. Finding where I can see regular reports of species that I'm after is really important. And then just heading out there, spending a lot of time. So I'm lucky enough that I do this full time, which means I have a lot of time to spend out in the field doing that. That being said, I'd always love to have more time out here, but there's a business to run. So I do spend a fair amount of time in front of the computer as well. So I can't always be out here, but the more time you spend in the field, the more stuff you're going to find and the more things you'll find that are consistent. So, if you're just going out once a week for a couple of hours and walking around, most things you're going to find in those circumstances are going to be kind of random, right? So it's really dependent a little bit more on luck in that circumstance. And that's how I started, just wandering around. But then I was doing that so often, repeatedly over and over again, that after a while I realized oh, hey, I'm seeing the same things in the same spot pretty regularly. Maybe I can start really trying to hone in on that. So let's see. The last piece of advice I would say for scouting and finding things is to have a close, good network of friends. So I have a close network of friends and we do share locations amongst each other. That being said, we don't share locations just out with anybody or anybody that randomly messages me online that I've never even met in person before. I'm not going to just give all the hard work and effort I put into finding these locations to anybody like that. But these close friends of mine, they put in hard work themselves and we're happy to share back and forth between each other. It also helps to keep these locations from kind of blowing up, So you share some of these locations, especially with really good birds, you share them online. And next thing you know, you have a lot of photographers there, especially in the Northeast. It's a highly populated area and there's a ton of photographers. And while I'd love to be able to share, of course, now I hear a kingfisher. You hear him? So while I would certainly love to be able to just share it with everybody, the fact of the matter is doing that is probably going to be detrimental to both the birds and, to be honest, my business, part of my business, and people pay me to find some of these birds that are difficult to find, and I put in a lot of hours. With these kingfishers out here at this particular spot, I would estimate, I haven't tracked it specifically, but I would estimate, wow, this kingfisher is just taunting me now. I would estimate I've probably spent about 20 to 30 hours, something like that, out here now trying to photograph these kingfishers. And while I've gotten some good shots for myself, that's not my main goal right now. My main goal is to find a spot where I can get this kingfisher regular and then be able to bring people back on workshops for them. So I have a little bit of a different goal with that, but I'm still using the same techniques that I use to scout and find locations for myself, even when I'm just doing personal shooting, which is research online using eBird and any other tools you can use online that can help you narrow down where to find the species, then getting out there a lot, as much time as possible, and walking around. One last thing, in the middle of the day when it's bright full sun, especially if it's a clear day and the light sucks and it's horrible to shoot, it's a great time to scout. If you have the time, just go out and scout, see what you can find. You don't even have to bring your camera because most likely the photos are going to be horrendous. So just bring your binoculars, go out and scout, bring your camera if you want just to document what you're seeing, and then go back to that location if you found something good when the light is really good and the conditions are better. So that's another piece of advice. So hopefully that answered your question. Sorry I went a little long there. And hey guys, everybody who's following, thanks for watching, and please feel free to send in more questions. I love these.
Thanks so much for submitting questions, and if you have a question you'd like to ask me about wildlife photography, hop on over to my website at rayhennessy.com and submit the question there, and I might just choose it for a future episode. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you like everything I've been sharing here, and I share a ton of other stuff on my website, blog posts, articles, other instructional videos that aren't even available on this YouTube channel. You can also subscribe to the email list on my website to get exclusive tips, tricks, and offers. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll have more to share again soon.